Welcome to Women in the Middle Entrepreneurs, the podcast that gives you an unfiltered, behind-the-scenes look at what it's really like being a woman in the middle who's over 50 and following her entrepreneurial dreams. Grab a superhero cape, girlfriend, because you deserve one. I'm your host, Master Certified Life Coach and Midlife Mentor, Suzy Rosenstein, and I am excited to inspire you with interviews that feature all of this midlife amazingness. Let's go. Hey there, welcome back to the show. We have another really exciting interview ahead of us about being a coach and consultant for self-leadership. Today, you'll be meeting Jill Clay, a woman in the middle entrepreneur who helps both new and seasoned leaders master the art of self-leadership and resilience. Welcome to the show, Jill. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh,
Yes.
It's so nice having you here too. I know we're going to have a really good conversation about your entrepreneur story. We're going to be talking about your business and what's going really well, and also what midlife issues might be hiccups or might be getting in the way to some extent and may be challenging for you in your life as well as being a business owner. So let's get started with how old you are, how long you've been an entrepreneur, and what you do in the world. Take it away.
All right. Well, I am 58 years old. And I've been an entrepreneur in my heart for my entire life, but literally I just started building my business. I broke up with corporate America about 4 months ago. So I'm at the very, very early stages of building, but I've been planning in the background for about a year.
Perfect.
But I took the leap of faith and here I am. Yeah.
Now, when you took that leap of faith, did you meet certain milestones for yourself in your planning, or did something happen that forced your hand?
I'm a planner. So I definitely, again, about a year ago, I started praying and planning. Those are my two things. I really wanted to make sure because, after being in my career for 32 plus years and having the stability of that normal paycheck, making really good money, I knew that I was going to have to really change my lifestyle just for a while to get it off the ground. So I started putting money away. And so I have a very specific place that is to take care of me during this time. So I definitely planned financially for it and then just began to build on my vision. My vision, I came out of HR. So I work with people and I have a heart for people. So I just began planning and I wanted to, after 32 years, and HR is a very broad spectrum of things, I wanted to start doing what I was passionate about, which was helping people get beyond their obstacles. So with the different curriculums that I've trained through the years and just the wisdom gained through working with people, kind of that middle management, seeing those roadblocks, I just began to tuck away and to take notes and to start building curriculum. So then the time came where I just knew I was a little burnout on my own career and I want to help others prevent that. So I thought, well, this is a perfect opportunity. I was 12 years anniversary at my corporate position. And I thought 12 is a full circle number. And again, I prayed about it and I decided that I would give my notice on my 12-year anniversary. So that's what I did.
That's so beautiful. I love that you said you're a planner. And then when I asked, you definitely had a very specific plan. I've worked with so many people and I love hearing the answer to this question, or it's something that I coach them on as well, is to really think about what would help them make the decision. And if it's financial concern, what are all the things they could do to help them make the decision,
Yes.
And for some people, it's anniversaries. Some people, it's stat holidays. Some people, it's some project that they don't want to leave until the project's finished. Like there's so many ways that people make that decision, but I love how careful you were with that. Now, tell me, what does it mean to be a coach and consultant for self-leadership? What is self-leadership?
So again, with my years of wisdom and working with people in leadership, what I realized is if you are unable to lead yourself, you cannot lead others. It's very simple. So in really digging into that, what I found is if you are not anchored in knowing who you are, part of my program, I work with the heart. I unleash the heart of leadership, right? That's kind of at the core of what I want to do and who I am. The heart of leadership, I talk about humility, your energy, adaptability, resilience, and then thriving. So it's really just about honing in on who you are at the very core of who you are. That's where you find your hidden talents. That's where you find your passion. You become happy with who you are. Therefore, you become a better leader for everyone else. And you're able to self-assess and self-regulate, which is the emotional intelligence piece of things, which is another part of what I've done through the years and believe that that is at the very core of self-leadership.
I just never heard it called that. And I like that spin on it. So these are people who want to be leaders. And this is one of the ways that they're getting in their own way.
Yes, absolutely.
Uh-huh.
And seasoned leaders who, are in position. But again, I come out of the HR world. So in the HR world, there are statistics about why people leave their jobs. And it's typically not the job, it's the manager, right? So there are a lot of people in corporations that are in high level positions, C-suite, and they have no self-awareness. They're very smart. The IQ piece is there, but the EQ piece is not. So, my passion is middle management because I feel like that's where you can really peel the onion back and help people get anchored in who they are and leading themselves. And then they can fulfill leading a team.
It's so interesting, though, because they're unaware. So how does somebody like that get to the point where they are ready to change?
Well, I believe that the stress levels and the overwhelm and I think everybody knows 2020 changed a lot of people's lives.
It sure did.
And kind of the mental bandwidth there for a while. So I think it's really just about, for me, it's being able to bring the awareness of why there's stress, why there's overwhelm, and then bringing solutions where the solution is literally stopping the negative self-talk and the frustrations and turning them into your power, which is then a part of that resilience, right? Because you can let things make you or break you. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. What are you talking to yourself about? So yes, the higher a person gets in leadership, they may be more resistant to hearing that. But I believe if you can hit some pain points of the everyday of what you're dealing with, and I can get in front of people, then I can help peel that onion and help them to get to the root of the issue. Because if you don't get to the root of the issue, you're on a hamster wheel of unhappiness, which then turns into burnout.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Very well said. Okay. So on this podcast, I love talking about midlife stuff that comes up and can really get in the way. And I was just smiling with some of the things you were talking about because it was really hard for me. And some days it continues to be hard. Technology. So tell me what technology is like for you at this age, being an entrepreneur.
Well, I, again, in comparing my previous corporate life to what I'm doing now, I had departments that took care of everything. I didn't have to worry about my computer. I didn't have to, I'm in HR. I didn't have to go into LinkedIn and know the algorithms of things and that kind of thing. So I'm still learning and it's still very frustrating. And I don't have any biological children, but I have a goddaughter, of course, in her early 20s. And I usually tap her to help me with some of the technical things that I'm just unsure of. So it has been a little bit of a hindrance. I was never a big LinkedIn, Facebook, and of course in coaching, I have to put myself out there. I had departments to do all of that. I had a talent acquisition department that took care of all the hiring. I didn't have to do any networking. So I'm literally changing my mindset on how I look at the world. I got so tired of talking to people all day long being in HR that I came home and I didn't want to talk to anybody.
Yeah.
Now I'm learning that I need to get out there and network and go to events and do social things. And I'm having a ball now. But when I first started doing that, it was very uncomfortable because I'm an introvert and I'm very tired after events. So I have to really push myself.
It's so interesting when you used to have staff. One of the things that I really found, I was in a publication department for a long time, publishing department, and there were editors.
Yeah.
And now, thankfully, you can usually catch bigger mistakes, and the bigger mistakes are on digital, which can be fixed. It's not like you're printing thousands of copies. Remember back in the day when we were printing resumes?
Oh,
100 resumes printed in a box. And it was, things are very different, but I really missed having an editor at the beginning, especially. And the tech, I mean, often it's my husband and he's like, just reboot.
Yeah. If all else fails, reboot. Right?
Yeah. It's hilarious, but it's also, it's not the different, it's a combination of the things you have to learn, but it's the ongoing maintenance of the apps and the updates and everything else too. So it is constant. I'm with you. It's a lot. And there's something about being our age that you can tell me if you agree, but I go back to 1981 when I had a floppy disk crisis and like everything zapped out and it was gone back in high school. Yeah. So I watch the way my kids approach, and maybe you notice this, when they approach new technology, it's with curiosity and interest.
Yes.
And with us, it's like, oh my God, this is terrible. I don't want to do this.
Yes, I completely agree with that. I just figuring things out in, Microsoft 365 is different than the last version of Microsoft. And they changed some of the things that I absolutely utilized every single day. And now I can't figure out how to share a document that's locked. I can't lock a document. So if I send an invoice, I sent an invoice to one of my clients and it was unlocked. So they could have put anything they wanted on the invoice when they got it. So I'm still trying to figure out how to lock the document and then share it. So yes, it's an everyday adventure, but YouTube is my best friend at this point.
It's so true. They have answers to everything. One time when my kids were little, it was somebody's bar mitzvah, and I have 3 boys, and we needed to get going, and they all had bow ties or ties or something, and I was so busy, and all these boys and their ties and whatever, and finally I'm like, okay, I actually know how to tie a tie. I don't know where my husband was. Anyway, I said, give me a few minutes, I'll be right there. And they said, don't worry, I looked it up on YouTube.
It's wonderful. I ask Siri questions all the time. We have a relationship and I'm Googling things and YouTubing all the time.
Sometimes I go to record a podcast and I turn on I pull it up, my recording software, and the buttons have changed. Like the settings have changed. I'm like, I didn't do anything.
Yeah. Well, Zoom, I have my own Zoom account. I was on Zoom earlier. There's this new menu along the side that I have no clue what it is. And I don't want to touch it because I'm afraid I'm going to mess something up.
Me too. That's how we think. I'm afraid I'm going to mess something up for sure.
Yes.
Now, another thing that came up in your application, I wanted to talk to you about, that you're very much guided by faith. And I wanted to know if you could tell me a little bit about that and how that's affecting you as you become an entrepreneur.
Yes. Well, I'll tell you that my faith has been the anchor for me. And I can tell you, through the last, just not to go all the way back, but I had a failed marriage that was very, very hurtful. So there was a lot of healing that had to take place after that. And in that process, I felt like less than, right? I felt very much like I was, life just wasn't good anymore. But the only thing that was really anchored in my life was my career. So I held on to my career very tightly. So that was my constant in my life. But what I realized, again, and bringing that forward, because I've been divorced since 2009, and it was a journey. I just held on to my career, but I always had this passion to do my own thing. My father owned his own business, and it's in my blood to be an entrepreneur. So, I thought about it through the years, but was always afraid. So again, I bring it to 2020 when we're all locked in, and my faith was anchored in a way that has never been anchored before, because of course we had a lot of time to spend I live by myself. So I spent a lot of time by myself, and I spent a lot of time in prayer and just seeking peace, because I was happy in my life, but I didn't have peace. So in that journey, what I realized is from the trauma that I had dealt with my marriage, that I had been holding on to that trauma, and it was keeping me in a fear state. I was afraid to step out. Mm-hmm. So once I started realizing, it was almost like a veil was over my eyes, and I would pray, and I felt like I wasn't getting answers. So I just was diligent in my prayer, and God started revealing to me that I had kind of a block because of old wounds. So I began a journey of deliverance and just really, reflecting back, which is again a part of self-leadership. You have to go deep. You have to figure out what's at the root in order for you to go forward. And I knew that, here I am. I'm 57 at that time. And I'm like, what is my life all about? I have no biological children. I'm divorced. I'm in a career that I'm making great money. I have a decent life, but is this all that it is? And I thought, you know what? If not now, then when? Because if you don't do it now, you're not going to do it.
One of the most common regrets that people have is that they don't allow themselves to be happy.
Yes.
They have a sense of what would make them happy. I also was stuck in fear for 5 years. 5 years. For me, it was 45 to 50. And so that was 10 to 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And if you don't get in touch with being honest with yourself about what you really want, because that it's related to the way you really want to feel in your life. Obviously, you can't be happy all the time, but
right,
you can definitely work on that.
Yeah.
And why wouldn't you? Like if you had a young person in your life, would you counsel them on never leaning into what makes them happy? Of course not.
Right. I have no regrets looking back, but yes, of course, I wish I would have done this 10 years ago, but the wisdom that I have, the freedom that I have, I think that's part of being over 50 and being assured of who you are. I have the wisdom, the years of experience, and now this leap of faith has oddly given me a freedom. I'm in a free fall, but I feel free and I am not afraid.
I think it's a free fly.
Yes. Yes.
It's not a free fall.
Absolutely. Yes. I received that.
So good. So what would you like next? What is the main thing you're working on right now?
Going back to my passion is to really kind of wake people up to who they really are and help them just elevate their mindset. Everybody gets stuck occasionally. Some people are super duper stuck, and some people are just in their own head. So my goal is my vision is to be a thought leader I come out of the HR world, and I understand what HR managers and professionals deal with, and they're giving all day long. And sometimes you can get on a hamster wheel of unhappiness because you're like a sponge being wrung out all day long, and then you're not being filled back up. So I want to be a thought leader in the HR community and help people get beyond their frustration. Because like you said earlier, nothing's perfect. We are all going to have concerns on our, in our careers and family life. But if you can figure out how to self-lead, then all of those burdens are lighter and you're able to move through them, because it's about moving through issues, because that's part of your journey. And that's what creates wisdom on your journey. So even the really bad part of my marriage, which was horrendous, has served me with grit today.
Oh yeah, grit is so important. That's for sure. Well, I wonder, you mentioned briefly LinkedIn before. Mm-hmm. And I would imagine that LinkedIn is an important part of your marketing strategy.
Yes.
That's right?
Yes, very much so.
Yeah. So that's a big learning curve too.
It is, because again, I had a department to take care of all of that. I worked for 2 companies in 32 years, so I never had to be interviewed. I was always the interviewer. So LinkedIn was just, if I would have somebody tap into it to get information for me. So I am diligently building and learning and networking, and it's a blast. I'm having a ball. But again, it's learning a whole new platform. It's learning a whole new process, and they keep changing it, right? Because they see people taking advantage of resources this way. So then they shut it down here. And then a guru comes out with a new way of getting through LinkedIn. So it's a navigation, but I'm having a ball doing it. But it's a process. What
would you say the thing is that surprised you the most about being an entrepreneur at this age?
I think once I got beyond the fear of taking that first step, the freedom and the fulfilling part of my heart, I feel like I had to change my mindset. When you're building somebody else's dream, a corporate vision, you're programmed to that vision. So again, after being in the business for 32 years, I had to deprogram. Yeah. So the first month that I called myself retiring from my corporate job, I had to unplug. So once I did that and I was able to really shift my mindset, that the peace that I have, that's what makes me think I wish I would have done it sooner. Mm-hmm. Because I have this freedom where before I felt like I was literally in bondage.
Yeah. I totally relate to that. And I'm sure many listeners relate to that. Well, it does sound like from what you said, LinkedIn, you're looking for these burned out HR professionals and leaders. That is likely going to be your sweet spot. So that's a lot of fun. And I'm glad you're having a lot of fun building a following and connecting and networking. That's awesome. Yes. And what about in terms of your life? Where are you focusing on in your life?
Well, as I mentioned before, the self leadership, that applies to me too. I'm not teaching anything that I haven't already been through. And part of what I believe is you have to be a lifelong learner, and you have to continually self-assess and check yourself and just kind of evaluate where you are, celebrate your wins, small and big. This is a win for me, being able to talk to you and to just share my vision. That's a huge win, and it feels really good. So just continuing to celebrate wins and build. I just want to continue to build a network and build a voice, a trusted voice for the HR community.
And lock down those, whatever that is on your billing.
Yes. And lock down the documents.
So how can people best get in touch with you?
JillClayCoaching.com is the easiest way to get a hold of me. There's an opportunity for you to do an energy audit to kind of check your overwhelm level on the site. And there's an opportunity to do a strategy session with me if you just want to talk through some things. And then there's also information on my new self-leadership program. So I'm super excited. Yes, that is, I think is going to really help anchor some people in. It's already done so for those who have been through the program. And I'm just continuing to make that grow and take it to the next level.
That's great.
Yeah.
Jill, thank you so much for taking the time from your day and sharing all of this. I really appreciate how you recognized that you were an entrepreneur at heart for a very long time, and you started working on your plan, your exit strategy from corporate and building this business well before you left.
Yeah.
Which was so good to start really imagining that this was going to happen and being really authentic about leaning into your faith and having trust like this. It's really a huge part of your story, and it's an amazing thing that you're able to do. I know you'll connect with a lot of people. I love what you're doing. Amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Suzy.
All right, that is it for now. If you're listening and loving to what you hear, please like and subscribe. Reviews are great too and much appreciated. And if you're a woman in the middle who's 50 or over and an entrepreneur and would also like to come on the show, please go to www.midlifeinterviews.com and fill out an application. We'd love to have you on to share your story. Thanks so much for listening. It's never too late to put yourself on your agenda. I'm Suzy Rosenstein, and I'll talk to you again soon. Now, real quick before we say goodbye, if you are connecting with this show, I'd love to invite you to a happiness breakthrough coaching session. It's my laser-focused coaching call that will help you get clear about what's getting in your way as a woman in the middle entrepreneur and confident about your next steps to more happiness in your next chapter. Head over to www.nextchapterbreakthrough.com. Talk to you soon.